515 Gaming.
So it's no secret by now that there will no longer be a sequel for Days Gone. Like most fans of this game, I was deeply upset by this news. I know this is old news by this point, however, I wanted to address this, as I would be remiss if I didn't discuss this in a public forum, and as I'd been saying on the Field of Geeks podcast, I've been wanting to do this for a while now. Days Gone, originally released in April of 2019, was recently re-released for the PC on Steam back in March of 2021. Not long beforehand, the game was released as a free game via the PlayStation Plus subscription service. With this in mind, it stands to reason that the game was popular enough to warrant a sequel. This, however, would sadly not be the case. Before diving into the issues surrounding this cancelled sequel and break down the information we've learned since that announcement, let's take a brief trip back in time, if we will. I know the points being made in this retrospective may not seem poignant, but please bear with me. There is a method to my madness here, and with that being said, let's dive in. 1995. A beloved Japan-based developer, Squaresoft, releases an RPG for the Western audience for the Super NES console called Chrono Trigger. In a lot of ways, it was revolutionary for the time, and to this day is one of the most wanted video game sequels of all time. Over time, however, the game would be re-released and remastered many times over, for newer consoles such as the PS1, as well as handheld devices such as the DS, and even mobile devices. Fans of the game hungrily bought and rebought every iteration of the game, hunger for new content. Still today, in 2021, some of the original development team is willing to come back together, despite there being some politics involved, to develop a sequel. In 1999, a sort of sequel / spiritual successor named Chrono Cross was released, which, while a fun game, in my opinion, was a convoluted mess of a story with way too many characters that was backhandedly tied to its predecessor. This game was more based on a forgotten spin-off series known as Radical Dreamers. Still, fans of the original needed a sequel. A proper sequel. In 2009, after becoming Square Enix, Senior VP Shinji Hashimoto would make a statement at E3. If people want a sequel, they should buy more. But we did. Again, and again, and again, and still, nothing. April 26, 2019. After several delays, Days Gone would see a console release on the PlayStation 4. At first glance, the game seemed like just another foray into the zombie genre. Go here, do this, kill that, rinse, repeat. You know the pattern. But there was something great about the open world experience, and what I personally would describe as a loving mixture of favorites. A post-apocalyptic recipe that combines the uncertain and ever-present dangers of The Walking Dead, the sense of brotherhood and loyalty of Sons of Anarchy, and for good measure a dash of Far Cry, as you explore for the resources and upgrades necessary, not only for your survival, but humanity as a whole. There's truly a sense of isolation in the game, especially when staring down a horde of swarming freakers, or being ambushed by greedy bandits. There's always somewhere to go, something to do, and until you progress in the game, our protagonist, Deacon St. John, has a sense of having nothing left to lose. But it's what little he has that he strives to hang on to, that last little shred of humanity. Unfortunately, while the game had a loyal fan base, critics were not so kind. Reviews were average at best across the board. However, that didn't stop the fans from loving this game, gaining the distinction of having the most copies sold than all of Ben Studio's previous titles. Especially when it was re-released as part of the PlayStation Plus subscription service, then it sort of got a, revival of sorts, whatever you want to call it. Sure, the game has its flaws. I mean, what game doesn't? Did it deserve an average score? I mean, this game was fun for me. It was fun for a lot of people. It was an emotional, gleeful rampage from start to finish. Oh yeah, the finish. Like many beloved franchises before, the game would end on a cliffhanger and speculation of what was to come. April 9th, 2021. So what happened? And why the backhanded correlation to Chrono Trigger? Well, Sony's Bend Studio was pitched the idea for a sequel to Days Gone. However, the mixed reviews and lengthy development process of the predecessor led to Sony rejecting the idea. Instead, Sony greenlit a remake to The Last of Us, which originally was released for the PS3 in 2013 and then remastered and re-released for the PS4 in 2014. I remember it fondly because that was the first game I ever got for my PS4 since it was one of those package deals. Anyway, they decided to go ahead with that and with a new Uncharted game, which will be developed by, you guessed it, Bend Studios, and allegedly using concepts for the open world design of Days Gone 2. I, for one, never fucking asked, but here we are. Reactions to this were tepid at best. In December of 2020, the original team behind Days Gone, including directors John Garvin and Jeff Ross, not that Jeff Ross, different Jeff Ross, would leave Bend Studios. While appearing on a podcast with David Jaffe, the creator of the God of War franchise, Garvin would tell listeners, "If you love a game, then buy it at full fucking price." The statement was met with some backlash, to say the least. Lead designer Eric Jensen, however, would thank players for their support, no matter when or how they had purchased or played it. So this whole situation reminded me of Chrono Trigger and how much I've wanted and likely will never get a damn sequel. A true sequel, not a spiritual successor or something that uses similar assets or engines or properties. A true damn sequel. Arguably, the PS Plus did more for boosting Days Gone than anything else, not to mention the release for the PC. Suddenly, where you once had just this small, loyal group of player consumers, you now had a new audience that were getting into the game. They were starting to love the game for what it was. A new group of players to experience the game for the first time. I was among those players, and I do not now, nor will I ever regret getting this game through PS Plus. Companies often let the numbers and the dollars speak for the player. I mean, we've seen it from Square Enix, we've seen it from Nintendo, and we've seen it from Sony. It's a sad reality of the world we live in, and it's not going to change anytime soon, sorry. But all we can do with this situation is fondly remember those games that we truly love. The ones that spoke to us, that made us laugh, made us cry, that have bedded themselves deep into our gray matter and live on in our memories. Those games that we stayed up for hours playing when we should have been sleeping or doing something a little more productive. So to Sony, to Bend Studio, and this is a long shot, but to Square Enix, if you hear this, if you see this video, I would like to close by saying this. If the people you sell to love the product you sell, why be greedy and demand more of their hard-earned money? Just give the people that are putting that money in your pockets to begin with what they truly want, instead of a remake of a game nobody really needs and another game in a series that people are already bored with. It didn't work for Invader V, it didn't work for EA, and it won't work for you. Okay? So just stop it. Oh, and John Garvin, go fuck yourself.